Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are going to completely unpack the deep and honestly often invisible psychological machinery that drives literally every single thing you do. I mean, have you ever wondered why you consistently crush some of your goals but then totally self-sabotage on others? Or why some people can go through just unimaginable hardships and come out victorious, while others kind of crumble at the slightest little inconvenience? Well, today, we're looking at the absolute core of human motivation. We are tearing down the engine of human behavior to see what really makes it run. Okay, let's dive into this. If you came here looking for a simple, rah-rah pep talk to get you hyped up, you might actually be in the wrong place. As our source material brilliantly points out, true understanding begins when we just stop looking for superficial hype. The core philosophy here is super simple. I'm not here to motivate you, I'm the why guy. You see, true motivation isn't about someone pumping you up with empty slogans. It's about understanding the invisible, internal forces that inherently drive you. When you finally uncover the why behind what you do, you unlock a completely different level of power and control over your own life. So I want to ask you directly, right now, what is your motive for action? Like, really ask yourself that. Take a second. We all have great intellects, right? And we can rationalize just about anything in our own heads. But here's the thing. Intellect doesn't wake you up at 4 a.m. to chase a dream, and it definitely doesn't help you push through the absolute hardest moments of your life. Emotion does. Emotion is the true force of life. It's the raw fuel in your engine. When human emotion enters the picture, your entire mental wiring changes. Now, this inner drive basically breaks down into two distinct master lessons of life. On one side, we have the science of achievement. And let's be honest, our society is incredibly good at this. It's how you take the invisible and make it visible. You write the code, you follow the rules, you put in the hours, and boom, you get the result. But on the other side is the art of fulfillment. Notice it's an art, not a science. And fulfillment is rarely mastered. Why is that? Because you can have all the achievement, the money, the success in the world, and still feel completely empty inside if you lack the art of appreciation and contribution. But hey, let's talk about what happens when we fail to achieve those goals. We love to make excuses, don't we? I didn't have the money. I didn't have the time. I didn't have the right technology. My manager was terrible. Or, as someone hilariously shouted out in the original presentation this source is based on, the Supreme Court. We just rapid-fire these excuses, blaming all our failures on a lack of external resources. We totally convince ourselves that if we just had that one missing piece, we would have succeeded for sure. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the profound shift in perspective it actually demands. The defining factor of success is never the external resources you lack. Never. It is entirely about your internal resourcefulness. Think about it. If you don't have the money, but you are absolutely relentlessly determined and creative enough, you will find a way. The ultimate resource isn't a physical thing, it's human emotion. With the right emotional state, whether that's determination, passion, or honestly, even frustration, you can become resourceful enough to overcome absolutely any deficit placed in front of you. And this brings us to a massive paradigm shift. We currently live in what you might call a therapy culture. And while there's good in that, it often inadvertently traps us into believing our past equals our future. But here is the reality check. Biography is not destiny. Decision is the ultimate power. You are not your past traumas, and you are definitely not your past failures, unless you consciously or unconsciously choose to live there. The true power over your life doesn't live in your history. It rests entirely in the decisions you are making right now, today. So how do we actually make these destiny-shaping decisions? Well, it all comes down to this 3-step cognitive machinery operating in your brain every single second of the day. First, what are you going to focus on? You have to choose where your attention goes. Second, whatever you focus on, you instantly have to give it a meaning. Is this a punishment or a gift? Is this the end or is it a beginning? That meaning instantly creates an emotion. And third, that emotion dictates what you are going to do, your action. So to recap, focus creates meaning, meaning creates emotion, and emotion drives action. Let's ground this with a real-world example highlighted in our source material. Think of the cyclist Lance Armstrong receiving an absolutely devastating testicular cancer diagnosis that had spread to his brain and lungs. Most people's focus would naturally lock onto the illness, right? And the meaning they'd assign would be, this is the end. But his focus was remarkably different. The meaning he assigned to his diagnosis was, this is a beginning. And that incredibly empowering meaning forged a level of psychological strength and emotional fitness that drove him to unprecedented victories after his recovery. Same horrific circumstance, entirely different internal operating system. And that internal operating system
It's powered by an engine with exactly 6 cylinders. These are the 6 universal human needs that dictate the targets we aim for in life. Every single person on the planet shares these 6 needs. They aren't just mere desires or, wish list goals. They are absolute, hardwired necessities that drive our behavior whether we realize it or not. So let's break them down and see exactly how they work.
And this brilliantly illustrates how those 6 needs are divided up. On one side, we have the needs of the personality. That's certainty, uncertainty or variety, significance, and connection or love. Every single human will find a way to meet these first 4, even if they have to lie to themselves or develop really destructive habits to do it. They basically ensure our baseline survival. But then we have the needs of the spirit, growth and contribution. You will never ever find true lasting fulfillment from the first 4 alone. True fulfillment only unlocks when you master those final 2 spiritual needs. So the crucial point here is that while we all share these exact same needs, our maps for achieving them are wildly different. Take the need for significance, for example, the need to feel important, unique, or special. How do people get it? Well, some strive to earn millions of dollars. Some get extreme body modifications. Others dive deep into spirituality. And as our source impartially notes, if someone lacks positive resources or supportive background, a fast way to feel uniquely significant is through violence. Think about it. Point a weapon at someone and instantly you have absolute certainty they will respond, total uncertainty about what happens next, and peak significance. It meets the psychological needs, but obviously through a deeply destructive map. Which leads us directly to a much more empowering map, captured in this simple yet incredibly profound truth. The secret to living is giving. This is where those ultimate needs of the spirit really come into play. If you aren't growing, whether that's in your relationships, your business, your personal life, you are going to feel terrible, no matter how much money or significance you've accumulated. We are fundamentally wired to grow for a very specific reason, so that we have something of real value to contribute to others. Let me share a pivotal, incredibly moving story from the source material that just perfectly captures this concept. It's Thanksgiving, 1971. A family with no money and no food is struggling, and suddenly, out of nowhere, a stranger delivers a Thanksgiving meal to their door. Now, the father's focus went straight to the fact that this was charity. His meaning, I am worthless, I can't provide. And his action, he eventually abandoned his family. But his son made 3 completely different decisions. His meaning was, strangers care. And his action was, if strangers care about me, I must care about them, and I'm going to make a difference in this world. Because of that single shift in meaning, deciding that a stranger's gift meant the world was actually a caring place, that teenage boy decided to feed 2 families the following year, then 4, then 8. Fast forward to today, and the incredible scale of contribution resulting from that one childhood decision is just massive. That boy grew up to build a foundation that now feeds over 2 million people in 35 countries annually during the holidays. That is the staggering exponential power of choosing an empowering meaning and aiming for contribution rather than just significance. Now, I want you to think about the emotional fuel running your own system. The English language has over 6,000 words for emotions. 6,000! Yet when asked to list the emotions they actually experience in an average week, most people cycle through fewer than 12. And usually, more than half of those are negative, things like frustration, overwhelm, anger. We habitually trap ourselves in just a handful of really disempowering emotional states. Think about it. Do you know someone who, no matter what happens, always finds a way to be angry? They've just wired their emotional operating system to run on that specific, limited fuel. But what happens when we intentionally rewire that system, even in the face of absolute tragedy? The source shares a profound event that took place during a seminar in Hawaii on September 11th. In a room of 2,000 people, including grieving New Yorkers who had just lost dozens of friends, and an angry man expressing sentiments of retribution, the atmosphere was, as you can imagine, volatile. But by intentionally shifting the group's focus away from pure grief and anger and asking, how can we serve someone else right now? An incredible transformation occurred. The grieving New Yorker and the angry man didn't just find common ground. They actually collaborated for years afterward to bring a message of peace to mosques and synagogues. When you shift your focus to contribution, you can bridge unimaginable divides. So my challenge to you today as we wrap up this explainer is this. How are you going to explore your inner web to appreciate others and contribute today? Seriously, take an audit of your own internal operating system. What needs are really driving you? What meanings are you attaching to the events in your life? By truly understanding your motivation, the real why behind what you do, you not only empower yourself to achieve, but you unlock the capacity to truly appreciate what's driving others. That is the key to real connection, lasting fulfillment, and ultimately changing the world around you. So I'll leave you with this. What's your next decision going to be?